Now, I'm a huge golf guy. I'm a bit of a degenerate for it. I will play anytime, anywhere. I can't get enough of it. It's my favorite leisure activity. If it's on TV, I'm watching it. If somebody invites me to play, I go play. I'm a nut for it. I can't get enough. Unless it's some lame PGA Tour Proam, and yes, even if it does include Tiger Woods and Michael Jordan, I'm sorry. If those guys want to play with each other, that's great. If they want to go out and knock heads, great. I'd like to see it. I just don't need the show they put on when they went out and did it recently in the Wachovia Championships. Also, Orlando Cepeda, former Giant great Orlando Cepeda, Baseball Hall of Famer, was arrested for possession of drugs. Very, very disturbing. Say it ain't so, oh. You're listening to the Best of the Jim Rome Show. Stick around.
Pro Tour Proams usually are not worth the time of day. A bunch of rich guys slapping it around for 5 hours as the pros pretend to be interested in what Bob from sales has to say. How they lie about how nice their golf swings are. What an incredible waste of time. But this week's Pro-Am at the Wachovia Championship is going to be different because Michael Jordan is going to be paired with Tiger Woods. Eldrick and 45 together in the Pro-Am. How good is that? Eldrick and 45. That's what I'm talking about. You think there might be any side action in that group? We all know how 45 likes to get his gamble on. Just as we know that Tiger was not adverse to taking a few bones off of John Smoltz earlier this season. And if Tiger says that Smoltz, who can really play, is his personal ATM, then what's that going to make 45? His vault? His personal Wells Fargo? Jordan might be the easiest mark ever on a golf course because he's over-the-top competitive. He thinks he's much better than he really is, and the guy loves to get down. Tiger could end up owning the Charlotte Bobcats by the end of the round. 45 will be pressing the bets by the second hole, throwing good jack after bad. That is, if they were actually allowed to gamble during these events. Because as we all know, something like that could never happen. That would just be inappropriate. Good thing, too, because Tiger might be wearing a few Bulls championship rings by the time he makes the turn if they did. Stay in your foot joys, 45. You're supposed to lie about your handicap being higher than it is. Not the other way, Mike. That could go really badly. I don't know for sure. But he looks like he's like a 10 who says he's a 2. You're supposed to be a 2 and say you're a 10. Go ahead and lie, but lie the right way. You're supposed to be a 2 and say you're a 10, not you're a 10 and say you're a 2. And if John Smoltz is Eldrick's personal ATM, how bad could that go for 45? That could be really bad. 69-year-old Hall of Famer Orlando Cepeda was arrested after a CHP officer pulled him over for speeding and found drugs in his rig. He gets popped for suspicion of felony possession of a controlled substance, along with possession of a hypodermic needle or a syringe. Oh, and possession of the lettuce as well. They stopped him for doing 83 in a 65, and when the officer approached the car, it smelled like a Grateful Dead concert. The officer found a usable amount of a white powdered substance that was likely meth or toot. Oh, and they found some tree as well. Oh, and the spike. They found the spike too. Toot, tree, and the spike. In a 69-year-old Hall of Famer's car. Toot, tree, spike. Maybe not toot. It could be meth. They're not saying. It's one or the other, apparently. Look, I'm sure there's a logical explanation. I just hope that it's not that Orlando Cepeda is a 69-year-old stoner or a hype. My man, you have this all turned around and backwards. You're a Hall of Famer. You're supposed to be spending your golden years doing card shows, signing autographs, and cashing in on your celebrity, not burning hippie lettuce, packing your beak, or taking the spike, allegedly. Bad enough that Barry Bonds' head and feet are still growing, allegedly, and that he's about to run down the hammer. The last thing the Giants organization needs is this. I just hope that what your lawyer says is true, that the chronic was for medicinal purposes for a family member who has diabetes. However, the attorney did not comment on the powder. Why not just go with that white powder is from my aunt's glaucoma? Look, this is just a terrible story. Say it isn't so. Oh. Say it ain't so. Oh. Blow, tree, and the spike. The cat's 69. How weird is that story? Well, I want to believe the attorney. I hope what he's saying is true. I hope that the chronic was for medicinal purposes, and I hope that the blow just jumped into his car magically. Because that's just too weird. A 69-year-old? What do you find in a 69-year-old's car normally? Metamucil and an ARP card and those crazy giant wraparound cataract sunglasses. And a handicap parking placard. Not the lettuce and the meth and the spike. Not in a 69-year-old's car. I mean, that's got to be some sort of record for still doing drugs, right? What 69-year-old is still doing hardcore drugs? How old's Keith Richards? That cat's got to be 69. He looks 99. He's a hype. I mean, no, dude, that cat really is a hype. Anyway, say it ain't so. All right, let's go to the phones. Now, I'm gonna withhold judgment on that story until I know all the facts. Because I'm hoping for the best. You clones can jump to any conclusions you want. Me, I will withhold judgment until I know all the facts. He says that the chronic was used for medicinal purposes, and the lawyer is not commenting on the blow except to say that his client doesn't do drugs. So I'm going to withhold judgment.